Hello there, this is Chris Howard, and I want to welcome you to our show today. We have an incredibly lovely guest all the way from South Africa via Australia, via Vanuatu. She's all over the planet. I don't even know where you're from these days, but maybe you're an alien. Maybe that's could be. Yes, the lovely Evette Rose with a thunderous round of applause.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Thank you.
Yes, I'm very happy to have you. And we've got today we're going to talk about just about you and get to know you a little bit, and where you've come from, where you've been, where you're going. You're such an interesting person because. I know you come from South Africa, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Grew up in Namibia, but moved to South Africa.
Now you say that so fast. You're born where?
I was born in South Africa, but my favorite place is Namibia, so I kind of like to say that I'm from Namibia.
So you say you were born from Namibia, but you really weren't. Okay.
It's my favorite place.
Okay, all right. So South Africa, do you miss that at all? I'm just curious.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not?
No, I miss the
Really?
nature. I absolutely miss just the authenticness of the nature that they still have there, but the lifestyle has declined, and it's just not good for anyone's quality of life, to be really honest.
Okay. What about the lemurs? You ever see a lemur?
I have not seen a lemur in South Africa.
You haven't? They're in Madagascar, right? They're
Yes,
right next to you.
yes.
Okay, all right. So now you've lived on the road most of your life, haven't you?
I have, yes,
Okay.
for the past few years.
For the past few years.
Home is where the suitcase is.
All right. And now I know you're in the work of transformation. You're in the work of helping people to actualize their full potential. How do you think about it when you talk about what you do? How do you explain it to people?
What I explain to people, for me, it's more about not having to tell people what to do in order, how to change, what you should do, what you should not do. For me, it's really about just helping them to heal the blocks that's stopping them from really, truly expressing themselves.
Okay.
So
Now, I know that you do a lot of, you do work with both men and women, don't you?
I do, but I do really enjoy working with women as well.
Okay. So you spend most of your focus on working with women. What percentage would you say?
I would say 80% with women and 20% with men, mainly because my seminars is more focused on women, and with men I would do personal development coaching with them.
Okay, so you do, yeah, because I know you do a lot of coaching over the telephone as well, and
Yes, and
Skype and
Skype,
that
yeah.
type of stuff. Okay. But your seminars are mainly with women, and you consider yourself to be a transformational coach? Do you consider yourself to be a leader? I know you're an author. How do you think of yourself?
I think of myself as a facilitator. I don't really like to box myself because it kind of limits what you do. Meaning if I'm a facilitator, it means that I can basically help anyone move in any direction that they want, regardless whether it's a seminar, whether I'm doing a coaching session. So I do prefer to see myself as a facilitator.
As a facilitator of...
Helping someone to get to where they want to be.
Okay. Because I know you work with a lot of people that are blocked and they feel blocked. And you also have a specialty in terms of your focus on what you call metaphysical anatomy.
That's right,
Yeah.
yes.
What's that all about? Because I see you wrote this 2,000, 3,000 page book that I know that sounds daunting, but it's actually an incredible book. It's why don't we start with the book? What's this book all about?
This book is about, it's like, I compiled this book over the past 4 years. It actually took me 4 years to write it, but...
It looks like it would take 20 years to read, but I know that's not the case.
The research started several years ago, and I was really inspired to write this book because of having traveled to 37 countries, having helped more than 6,000 people. I noticed consistencies with my students and clients where they had certain emotional conditions and how these conditions were all collectively related to each other. For example, some people might have predominant traumas that actually could potentially cause a medical condition to surface. And
okay, now there you said it. You said they had some sort of trauma. So we're coming to this concept of metaphysical anatomy and what that really means. Somebody had some sort of trauma that causes a medical condition to surface.
correct.
So you're talking about the psychological component or the root
Yes,
cause
exactly.
of
When stress builds
physiological.
up, yes.
Okay, when stress builds up in the body. Now, in your paradigm of metaphysical anatomy, does that include I'm hearing the physiological components. Does it include components that go beyond what occurs in the body as well?
Absolutely, because you're an expression of your ancestors. So when what I started noticing in my research, which I actually became really passionate about, was when I realized that when you look at someone who has a medical condition and you look far enough back in the ancestry, you might actually find that someone in that ancestry also did have the same medical condition. If not, then there could also have been certain points of trauma that could have build up and kept building up through the generations, where certain factors in your environment in your current life could have set off the final stages of this medical condition that's been developing for quite a while.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right. So that answer was jam-packed with a lot of stuff, and you took it backwards. I thought we were going forwards, but like in terms of the body expressing itself in the here and now. But I hear what you're saying. So you're saying that issues. And I really want to address that. So you're saying that issues that we have in the here and now are not necessarily rooted in terms of their root cause, even in this lifetime?
Correct. But for example, if you had a car accident, then it's an issue that you would look at in this lifetime.
Right. Now, but if you
have an injury
what's an example of something that might come from from your ancestry?
For example, something that I have found really interesting was this is very much related to breast cancer.
Yes.
Like, for example, I had a client whose mother went through a really bad divorce, and she developed breast cancer on the left side. And then her daughter, the client,
yes,
also went through a really bad divorce, almost kind of repeating her mother's pattern. And she developed breast cancer in the exact same area as where her mother did.
Now, right there, you said repeating her mother's same pattern. Are you just saying that there were some behaviors that this person did or some thought patterns that this person had that were similar to their mother as well?
Inherited, and also what she saw and copied from her childhood by observing her mother's behavior towards her father, for example.
Okay, so the way that she was expressing herself within the context of her relationships was also similar to the mother.
Correct.
And you're saying that there's some sort of an equation between that and the breast cancer?
Yes, the stress that was experienced there in her environment with her husband actually set off this predisposition for breast cancer, which her mother had. And her mother had that breast cancer because she also had a predisposition for it.
Okay, so there's an existing predisposition which could perhaps be passed down genealogically or
Correct.
through generation to generation. And then
Just as an example, you can only experience joy because it's in your biological makeup.
I can only experience joy because it's in my body. So you're saying it's something that's inherent in me as a human being to have it, or that other people can't experience it because it's not in their makeup?
No, if you can't express it, then it's only suppressed due to depression or a traumatic event that suppressed it, but it's there.
Okay, so joy is an emotion that's inherent within us as a species, is what you're saying, or within
It's in the biological line, absolutely.
In the biological line. So joy is there.
So, for example, a child can only feel rejected. For example, even if they're 2 years old and they've never in their life felt rejected, but a circumstance or something happens that makes this child feel rejected, they can only have that emotional response because there is a predisposition for it. It's already in their biological makeup. And where does that come from? It comes from the father, it comes from the mother, it comes from their ancestry, because everyone in that ancestry...
But doesn't that come from us as being just human beings? As being a human being, we're predisposed to having any kind of emotion, are we not?
What do you mean?
Meaning that whether it be joy or whether it be sadness or guilt or whatever, is that something that's in the biological makeup of us as human beings, or even
Yes, but how you respond to that is what's defined by your ancestry and how you watched your mother and father respond as well.
Got it. Yeah, that makes total sense from a programming and conditioning perspective. You know,
Absolutely.
I heard a great quote from theoretical philosopher David Bohm, who said that, or he's actually a quantum theorist, where he said that we take in what we take in from the whole, and what we take in becomes who we are. So
correct.
Yeah, so what we take in from the whole, including our ancestry, then that would, and what we take in would come from the ancestry. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Absolutely. So what's happening here is that you have this predisposition package that happens when you're conceived, and then you also have your own life experiences that
package. Here's your package. Yes. Yeah. Oh, that sucks. I didn't want that. Can I take it back? It's not like a Christmas gift, right? You can't take it back if you.
It depends how you see that Christmas gift, whether it's a blessing or not.
Yeah.
So,
I guess so.
so you have this little package that you have when you're born with, and then what's added to that is your experiences as a
Did
child.
you just say
and
I
as
had a
an
little
adult.
package when I was born? Hey, excuse me. No? No, I'm kidding.
You're blessed either way.
Okay, I'm blessed either way. Yeah, somehow. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so you've got this package, this predisposition that you have for a certain way of life or expressing your life in a certain way. And then what happens?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sorry. Oh, you're laughing now. You're laughing about my little package. That's, you know,
I just
that's-
didn't expect that.
No, but it's not an unusual response. I mean, people often laugh at my little package. No, anyway, so, no, so anyway, back to where we need to be. So we're born with some sort of an innate intelligence or a carry forward from the previous
Absolutely.
generations.
Absolutely. And the example that I give is that every single person on this planet, whether you're poor or not, you know, there is a part of you that knows what it feels like to be a billionaire. There's a part of you that knows what it feels like to absolutely deeply love. There's a part of you,
What? Say
absolutely,
what?
because someone
Why?
in your ancestry must have experienced that, and there's a
But
collective consciousness
a
for it.
billionaire, are you just saying that there's a feeling of
Of abundance.
abundance?
Billionaire is
Okay.
probably the wrong word, but abundance, a feeling of feeling fulfilled, feeling absolutely happy with what you have, because abundance doesn't just come with money. It comes with how you feel. It's an emotional state of mind.
Okay, so feeling abundant. I get that. That
Like
makes sense.
another example is someone who's sitting in prison. You know, they can either feel trapped or they can be there and they can be at absolute peace with their environment, because it's a state of mind that you move into. You can feel free and you can sit trapped in a little hole at the same time. It's a state of mind that defines your experience.
Yeah, I'm willing to accept that, because it's like you look at it and I'm willing to accept that. That's what Buddha sat underneath the Bodhi tree, and eventually when he came to inner peace, he touched the earth and all this stuff was happening around him and he felt the stillness. So I get where you're coming from there. So you're saying, how do we take that concept that you've got right there, and how do we bring that into how do we make that coincide with what you were saying before about this predisposition that we had?
It's about learning how to have an awareness of when am I really truly expressing myself, or when am I actually expressing someone else's feelings? For example, becoming aware. Am I responding?
When am I not?
When am I responding the way that my mom did? Am I responding the way that my dad did? Or maybe am I behaving the way that I am because I was bullied by my siblings? You know, because all these feelings and reactions is based upon past experiences.
Right, exactly. So when you say that, it causes me to think that we must always be acting out of our predispositions unless we become enlightened or awakened in some way. Is that accurate or no?
No, I wouldn't say enlightenment. That's a bit of a far stretch. But what I would say, it's more about awareness.
Awareness, okay.
It's about awareness of your feelings. It's about awareness of who you, like, for example, who do you want to be?
Oh, geez.
And what is the resistance to that? And the resistance to that is because of past judgments. It's because of old patterns that you're holding on to from mom and dad that you're not consciously aware of. But because these patterns have been there from the day that you were born, you accept them as yours.
I didn't know we were going deep and this was going to get personal here, but okay, yeah, no, I can relate to that. I understand what you're saying. So, so I'm sorry, you just made me go think about my parents, and I'm
Sorry,
trying
it was not my
no,
intention, but that's
all
what I
right.
explain to my students as well, because they
Right.
ask me the exact
Well, maybe
same
the person
question that you
listening is
just
going
asked
to
of
be
me.
thinking the same thing and going back and going, oh,
And so they should,
crap,
because
there's something I've got to do. Yeah.
Absolutely, but that's the intention here. It's about awareness.
Right.
If you don't have that awareness, you're not going to go anywhere.
Okay, so I mean, you've got this depth of knowledge. You sound like you've done a lot of study. I mean, you've got this book that's literally, how many pages is this book?
800.
800 pages.
With
It's
679 medical conditions.
679 medical conditions. I'd say that this is like Louise Hay on steroids, but I don't think she'd do steroids. So she's too.
She's a feminine goddess.
She's a
absolutely
feminine
not,
goddess,
no.
but this book looks like it's a book that's written by and for a feminine goddess. It's gold is beautiful. It's I mean, this is the real deal. This goes deep. But I know that your work comes from not just what you've done with metaphysical anatomy in terms of putting it forward in the book. You teach seminars, you do private coaching, and you do Skype coaching with people around the world, with translators. I mean,
That's right.
you're the first person. I've never heard of somebody doing coaching with somebody in Russia with a translator. That's like, I've never heard of that before. And I know
It's a lot of fun, actually.
yeah. Well, and with the following that you have, it's huge. You are also the co-developer of some other technologies as well.
That's correct.
What was that?
That was RPT, Rapid Personal Transformation.
Rapid Personal Transformation, which was, so you co-developed that, and that became pretty big, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It took 9 months, and we ended up around the world. That's where we probably did about 19 countries in 9 months.
19 countries in 9 months, teaching technologies for transformation.
Correct.
And wow, that's significant. And I know you have private clients around the world.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, just because I know you, I know that people that, as they do coaching with you or as they do healing sessions with you, there's a guy that I'm thinking of right now, Lorenzo, over in Mexico.
Right,
And I know about this. I won't say too much about this, but he and his partner had done sessions with you, and one session, and they were like, "Oh my God."
Because he was resistant to it. He didn't want to do it. And the moment he saw the changes in her, it's like, I'm ready to book in.
Yeah, because they were having challenges, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, now they were having challenges.
Relationship's
They were
back
on
on
the
track.
brink of falling apart. And now all of a sudden, he's booking tickets to fly her around the world with him because he was traveling alone, kind of the
Correct.
single guy, the lone wolf. And now she's everywhere with them, and they're doing incredible, and they want more and more and more. And it's like Pringles, you can't eat just one, right?
Exactly.
Except in the relationship now, it's just one. But in any case, so now you've got this, you've got these clients that are working with you. And how do you typically do your client work when you do client work? You have this depth of knowledge about metaphysical anatomy. How do you bring that to the table when you're working with somebody?
I actually try not to go too much into the story, into the technicalities of it, because it kind of gets the person into their head, where I really do want them to connect to their feelings, because that's my language for healing. For me, it's all about, how do you feel? And sometimes people don't even want to talk about what happened to them. Like they had really severe trauma. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I just want to know, how did that make you feel? And that's where I take it from.
So you could do this content free where the person doesn't even tell you?
Correct.
Wow.
I was very passionate about this because, in my own personal experience, when I was working through my own childhood trauma, there were a lot of things that I just didn't want to talk about, because the reliving the memories of it was just too traumatic for me. And I went through different modalities, different therapies, and it just became to the point where it was just not working for me, because I was
sometimes just-
sabotaging the process because I didn't want to talk about it.
Oh, got it,
So I
got it,
wasn't
got
getting
it.
anywhere. And I decided, you know what? There has to be a way around this. And this is where I started my technique. And I'm like,
Okay, now pause there just for a second. So you said there has to be a way around this. How deep into studying or teaching were you at that point? Were you at the point where you were already teaching RPT?
Yes.
So you were already out there
already
teaching
starting,
RPT,
I was already writing, just starting Metaphysical Anatomy.
and you were just starting your book, and all these technologies, these various forms of therapy that you had sought out, they were looking to draw out from you information, and you found that there were places you just weren't willing to go.
Correct.
So you had to find another way.
Exactly.
And therein lied the development of what you practice today.
Yes.
Were you able to find that with your current practice, you were able to go those places you weren't able to go before?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. So
And based upon what I learned with myself, and I'm like, wow, I'm seeing results. I'm feeling better. This issues that I had is changing. And I'm like, well, if this worked for me, it has to work for other people.
See, I think that's really cool, because being in the teaching field, I've been teaching for over 20 years, and I've met a lot of people. I've come into a lot of people, myself included, who weren't willing to, either they didn't know that they even had the issue, or
Correct.
they were either not willing unconsciously or not willing consciously to go where they had to go
Correct.
to really heal something once and for all.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is that you found a way to work around that
Exactly.
to actually get to the root cause of the real issue.
Correct.
To me, that seems huge, right? Because let me ask you a question then, because a lot of people come through personal development trainings and seminars and things like that, and I know you teach lots of seminars yourself around the world. You teach in exotic places like Bali,
Mauritius
and
coming up.
Mauritius coming up. Oh my God! All I want to do is go and lay on the beach. So the. I lost my place there, and I do that sometimes. But I may need to get to the root of that. It might have been an ancestral thing. But
Your head was on the beach. That's
my head was on the beach. Okay, that's all right.
Come back.
Oh, come back.
Come back.
Come back, Chris. Come back. I want to. Okay, so anyway, so when you, I had a great question that I was going to ask you, and it really went out the door.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. That's all right. So you teach these seminars around the world. You do this. You do work with people in terms of helping them to heal themselves. I know you don't call yourself a healer per se. You've got clients around the world, your Skype sessions around the world. And when you think of the marriage between metaphysical anatomy and how does the actual work, I'm gonna change questions up and the other one will come back. How does the work transpire? You sit down with somebody or you get on Skype with them. What happens next?
I asked the person, what is the most pressing issue for you in your life right now? And sometimes what's the interesting thing about that is that's not normally what we end the session with. Because what I find, what happens is that people get so caught up with a certain concept or idea that they hold on to it with the intention to avoid what's really, really going on deep down.
It's just that avoidance thing coming up again. That's where I was going with the other question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what's blocking your awareness from really seeing what the real issue is.
That's my question. You did say it would come back, and it did.
See?
Okay, because I've seen people over the years come into personal and professional development stuff, and it's like they were peeling off layers of an onion. Like there's another layer, there's another layer, there's another layer. It's like, shoot, I thought I dealt with that issue 5 years ago. Is it possible that they just weren't getting to the real issue because of some sort of avoidance?
Absolutely, of course. There could be an unconscious sabotage because, sometimes because the body is so adaptable, whether you're in a stressful circumstances or where things go well, you psychologically adapt. So when we're in stressful situations the whole time, you learn to feel comfortable feeling uncomfortable. So you start to find safety and security within that uncomfortable zone, but you've learned to adapt to it, and it becomes a lifestyle.
Wow, that's fascinating. Would you say that most everybody's done that?
I would say so, yes, because if you're
around
happy in your life right now, then I'm sure you stepped out of that comfort zone, and good for you. But the majority is not there.
So you're saying that most people are walking around through their life, and they've learned to be comfortable feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not an authentic happiness.
And they haven't gotten to the true happiness that they really could have.
Correct.
It's almost a delusion of consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like people are walking around thinking that's like the Matrix, man. If you seriously, like if somebody's
I have to watch that movie again.
I think so. I think I have to watch it again because, like, I remember when Morpheus gave Neo the red pill, and he said life was never going to be the same again. Neo took that red pill, which you would think you'd get enlightenment, and he was enlightened in a way. But he wasn't enlightened in a way that it did empower him, but it was disillusioning. It shattered his illusion he'd been living in, and he realized that human beings, were just batteries that were being sucked dry by these machines, and they were living in this life that they grew accustomed to, or that they fooled themselves into thinking everything was okay when it really wasn't. And what I'm hearing for you now is that that's really the case for most people in the world. They've fooled themselves into thinking that it's okay, but it's really not.
No.
And because they've gone comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Correct. And I have the really great example of a guy that I was coaching. I did 2 sessions with him, and he was so obsessed with becoming enlightened that he was traveling the world doing all these amazing seminars. And I sat down with him and I said, what can you show me or tell me of anything valuable that you have found from this? And I said, well, now I can do this, I can do this, and I can do that. And I'm like, well, how do you feel? Do you feel any different before you started your journey? So like, well, I've had amazing experiences, but I said, no, you're not answering my question. Do you feel that you as a person has really genuinely changed and that you're anywhere closer to this enlightenment?
I love your South African accent, by the way. Accent, not accident. Do you feel that you has really changed? That's a South African thing. Yeah,
I'm throwing it in there.
Yeah. So
and what basically happened was that he was traveling,
how do you
doing all
feel,
these
you said?
seminars,
Yeah.
avoiding how he was really truly feeling, avoiding all his childhood trauma. He was so focused on the specific goal that he was trying to reach that he was completely bypassing everything that he needed to deal with in order to reach this goal that he was chasing after so much. And when we really started dealing with the childhood issues and faced the things that he's been running from, traveling all over the place, getting into different experiences as a way of suppressing and not having to focus on what was really genuinely needing to be dealt with.
Totally understand
That was a big breakthrough.
Yeah, I imagine it was, because I mean, when you look at, I mean, everybody seems to do that. Like everybody, you know, we're living in a world where people are out there.
Even I
chasing
do
after
that. We
things.
all have
Yeah.
these patterns.
Right.
Of course.
So, but you're saying that they can be overcome.
Absolutely. That's why I'm here.
And that's that. I love that. I think who was it that said that? Was it Rajneesh or somebody, or Gurdjieff, or one of the old gurus said that. That's why I've come. You know, that's why I'm here. Okay,
I feel
so
this is a very important role for me. It's and I love it.
metaphysical anatomy. I like that. And so it's about helping people to get to the root of these issues that are, like, you know, in psychology, they talk about generational chains, things that are passed down
Correct.
generation to generation.
Correct.
And man, this is so jam-packed.
I mean, this can
with
go
stuff.
deep, yes. Like for example, if you have issues in your life and you're looking at your mother and like, well, I don't have her pattern, I don't have my father's pattern. Look at your grandmother on your mother's side. Her trauma,
I don't even know who that was.
It doesn't matter. That's the great thing. It doesn't matter. How do you feel?
About my grandmother on my mother's side?
No. If you have an issue and you don't know who your grandmother was, then you go back to the step that I was talking about, your emotions. How do you feel?
Wow. Okay. Like this.
This can go deep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this can go deep.
This can go very deep.
So what types of programs and stuff do you offer? I'm curious. You know, how do people interact with you?
Meaning my seminars?
Yeah. What
or-
types of seminars? What types of coaching? What types of things do you do?
My favorite seminar at the moment is the one where I focus only on women. Okay. And this is all about women's personal development.
That'd be my favorite seminar too. No, sorry. Yeah, go on.
Women
This
are
isn't about
normally
me,
the
more.
success behind men. So
Yeah, that's true. Okay, go on.
Okay, so and it's all about helping women to reestablish what their boundaries are, because as women, I find that our ability to say no and to be able to stand confidently and strong in our boundaries has been so suppressed, it's been so challenged. And it's not just in our current life. I mean, look at how did your mother maybe respond? Was she the peacekeeper or was she the aggressor? Because the reason for peacekeeper is your completely failed boundaries. You know, you people suppress their values, they suppress everything for the sake of keeping the peace. And then you have the other extreme where someone can become extremely aggressive because they've learned that anger is their way of reclaiming their power. When you're angry, have you noticed how easy it is to say no to someone?
Yeah.
It's very
when
easy.
I'm angry,
It's
yeah,
very
that's like-
absolutely, because you've made an association with that anger is power. And power is when people listen to you. So you make a positive association with a negative feeling, but it gets anchored in so strongly that people don't really, they don't actually stop to think, how do I say no in this situation in a way that can be graceful but also be respected?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could talk about this
Yeah,
for days on end, but you know, we've got to wrap right now. But
Sure.
how do people get a hold of you? What's the best course of action to get a hold of you and to find out more about what you do?
My website, www.metaphysicalanatomy.com.
www.metaphysicalanatomy.com. And well, reach out, you know, so reach out to Evette and see how she can make the difference in your life that she's made in so many other people's
Thank
lives. Thank you so
you.
much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank
It's
you.
a blessing to have had the chance to chat with you. And
Thank you
now
for having me.
Now I'm thinking about all my stuff. So now it's like...
We can work on it.
Yeah, no, I know. I'll be reaching out to metaphysicalanatomy.com. I'll be the guy, hi, my name's Joe. I've got a friend who has a problem. Okay. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.